Welcome to episode 9 of Unruly By Nature with myself, Rachel Knott of Minimal Matters, Kim from Radio K9,
Hi.
and Sue from Heart Connection Dogs.
Hi.
So today, we've been talking about essential oils for weeks now, but I don't think we've really touched much upon how we all met. And we all met through zoopharmacognosy, aka self-selection, aka animal remedy knowing. Basically, dog goes out, eats grass, knows which blade of grass it wants because it has an innate intelligence. Yeah. So I don't want to go into too much about how zoopharmacognosy works. I just want to go into some of the stories. So I'm going to start the episode today with a question, which we often like to do. And my question, I'm going to start with Kim because you look eager to answer this question. Can't wait. What do you wish people understood about self-selection that would change how they do, for want of a better word, dog guardianship?
That is a loaded question.
Mm.
I have lodgepole pine today, by the way, which
Oh.
is very good for the season. And lodgepole pine grow in Oregon, like the northwest of the US for us. And yeah, they grow tall and thin in my favorite part of the country, actually.
Mm.
So now I'll answer your question, but I just had to say that first because I'm thinking of an answer while I'm saying that. I would say for me, when I think and I can close my eyes and think about the plant world, and even 2 dandelions don't grow the same way. So it would be uniqueness, individualization, and I believe for me, it was such a when I started learning Zoopharma and I was exposed to it years before I started learning it, I realized that no 2 animals are the same, no 2 microbiome are the same, no 2 people are the same, and it really started to hit home that all of this mass teaching that we do with the best interest, it could possibly be adjusted, for the people to take from it what they need rather than taking everything verbatim. So when it comes to dog guardianship, I mean, it would come into things like training class. It's cool if you want to train your dog, but when one mechanism doesn't work, it's just really a sense that you need to open your heart and your mind to the fact that your dog may have a different desire, a different need, a different want. And I think Zoo Pharma is this beautiful, I mean, put it into food, right? We've tried to dump all of our dog food into a bowl or even if you home cook, a lot of times we put food together. We put little piles of food around and our dogs get to choose what they want to eat. And I think that realizing they're individuals is like to me, the biggest thing that kind of slapped me upside the head and made me really start advocating for them, but also being more confident in the fact that I do understand what they're asking me for because
Mm.
it's that communication and connection is so clear. So yeah, that's one thing.
Mm. And that's massive.
Mm,
Like, it sounds so simple and so obvious, but it's the key
mm,
because we bunch our dogs into the same group, don't we? Whether because of they're a
mm.
breed or they're an age or they're a personality type or they were born in COVID or, something. So, yeah, it's the same for me, that individuality, looking at them as an ever evolving individual.
That's
Yeah.
brilliant, yeah.
What about
So
you,
true.
Sue?
So what came up for me when I was listening to Kim was, Yeah, going into it, I had this idea that here's another therapy to add to my toolkit. Here's another way that I can, help to fix dogs basically with, yeah, another tool, and of course a natural tool. So for me it was holistic. It sounded like a great idea. But as I got to learn more about it through you and your course, and we started to experiment with dogs, or I started to experiment with different dogs and different ways of offering and specifically observing, I realized that it was a way of bringing us, the guardian, back to curiosity and back to nature. So, like Kim said, the actual being aware of this plant is not just a plant with a medicinal value and a blah, blah, blah property. It's a living being, a living energetic being. And so are our dogs, living energetic beings, and watching the interaction, how naturally our dogs can do that, how naturally our dogs interact with the energetics of the plants. It's so normal for them. And yet we come from this background where we have to prescribe something and give something like we know better.
Mhm.
And this for me was a way of saying, yes, allow the dog to show. You get curious about what that dog, how the dog responds to that particular plant or essential oil or whatever, and just allow to open the conversation. Where do we go from there? What else am I learning about my dog? What else can I see by their watch, observe in their body language, etc. And it's just, yeah, for me, as a takeaway to answer your question, how would that help the guardian? From being in this sort of controlling, I need to do whatever is best and I know what's best for my dog, or because somebody's told me that, or I've read it in a book, versus get down and get curious and see it for yourself. And that connection that brought me back to nature was really fantastic, because it wasn't just about offering as well a bowl of, you know, in, a bowl of herbs or nutraceuticals. It was actually going out into nature and watching my dogs, as you say, which specific grass they choose. Or I
Mhm.
remember once, Rachel, I said to you that Layla loves to lie in a particular place in the garden, and it could have been. Now, my first observation was, well, that's a nice shady place for her in the summer. But there's lots of shady places in the garden. Why did she choose that one? And you said to me, I'm curious to see if there's plants around there. And I said, yes, there's a geranium right there. And
Mhm.
it was like bingo. And then I offered her geranium essential oil and she loved it. So
Mhm.
it's fascinating when we start to really see the little things like this, how they
Mhm.
can show us that they're doing this in nature. I remember as well her stopping and chewing on a yarrow plant. But she didn't like, for instance, she didn't like the essential oil when I offered it to her. But that specific day, there she was
Mhm.
chewing on a wild yarrow plant. So, yeah, just fascinating. I think it opens up a whole new door when we start to get curious about what the plants and the animals can teach us, or what are we looking at versus what we think we need
Mhm.
to therapy, with what we need to,
Mhm.
whatever you call it, fix or change or alter.
Yeah. Yeah, everything you said, that especially the bit about bringing us back into
Mm,
nature,
mm,
and the I think for me it was such an evolution from going from dog behavior work, which of course was great because I was learning to understand their body language, but then recognizing that and that they have this there's this word intelligence that I wasn't aware of, and that I wasn't having to second guess. That was a real it was almost felt like a relief for me. I
mm,
was like, "Oh my god, I feel like I'm not having to work it all out on my own." So it for me, I love that it just opened up my senses, really, like what you were
mm.
saying with Layla and the geranium. I it 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 wasn't just about bringing in the herbs and the essential oils and observing the dog in that session. It started to ripple out in other aspects of my life, obviously, because this is this is my main work. This, like, I've lived this for 12 years now, and I'm obsessed with zoopharmacognosy. As much as I try and shake it off sometimes, it always comes back to that for me. And literally visiting my parents at the weekend, this is the degree I take it to. My mum said, oh, we had a squirrel kept coming in our garden, and it kept leaving walnuts. And she says, I've no idea who's got a walnut tree around us. And I was like, was it anything? And she went, no, just walnuts. And I thought, isn't that fascinating? And that that to me is not random. Yeah, of course, this,
Mm.
the that's medicine. That's
Mm.
information. So then I said, wouldn't it be fascinating to look up what the nutritional properties and medicinal properties of walnut are? Because Dad hadn't noticed it was my mum specifically. So what the nutritional benefits of walnut were, and what the kind of the spiritual message in walnut is. And it was so apt. It was so apt for where my mum is in her life, and potentially me too, right? Because it come into my awareness. So now I'm like, oh, I want to know about walnuts, and do I need to be eating more walnuts, etc., etc. So I feel the zoopharmacognosy just helped me tap into nature's intelligence, but in a really simple way initially, by working with, like, when people come to learn about it, they're just so amazed that their dogs are selecting one herb and not another, because we've been told that they just will eat anything, right? So then to go from that to then the subtleties of observing them in nature, and which blades of grass it is they take, and not rushing them on, or if they're rolling they're not just rolling because they're naughty. Maybe there's something in the ground, there's something in the soil that they're really wanting to be around. I remember with my Weimaraner Baxter, towards the end of his life, he was really lumpy. Whether he had, I never wanted a diagnosis. I just wanted to work with what we worked holistically. And I remember him selecting I didn't know what burdock looked like. Of course, he'll walk past it all the time, but I didn't know that's what it was called. And then he would stand by this plant, and he was literally pointing at it. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, he's telling me about burdock. I need to go and research that and see if that's going to help him with his liver or whatever else was going on. But I think it brought me back to nature,
Mm.
and it brought me back to myself, and brought me back to exploring my relationship with myself and nature, and my animals and the plants, all of it. It just popped everything open, but gradually, at a
Mm.
level that I was able. And it's those dogs, isn't it? So my one Basset Cross, Bridget, used to walk away whenever I'd get anything out. But I thought she was just not interested, but she was walking away because she wanted to be in her bed and wanted me to work with her in her bed. But, like, literally for 2 years, I thought she was not interested, but she was saying, "No, work with me here." And as soon as I made that connection, she started working with the aromatics. It was like, it was almost, how patient for 2 years to be trying to communicate that to me. And I'm like, "No, we've got to do it here because this is a clean surface." Crazy.
I
Uh,
you know, there's so much in that, and the word that came to me while you both were talking was expansion.
mm.
And I think the first thing that has to happen is, Rachel, Sue, and I worked with you on your course, and what drew me into it the most was how intuitively and curiously you went into it. It wasn't ever clinical.
Mm.
It wasn't,
Mm.
"The soil is for this, and this soil is for this," and that's what when you were talking, it's one of the things that opened so much for me was, you know, we create this pretty in-depth intake form for clients when they come to us, and it's at some point, you should realize it's just that one single perspective, it's that one single
Mm.
mindset, and it's not separate from the person because we're all connected, and we're all energy. And so anything on that intake form, not only does it have to do with the dog and what the person sees, but it's also, like you said, Rachel, about your mom and the walnuts. We're getting pulled in by all of these threads, and it's that awareness to start recognizing it. You don't have to do anything. Sometimes you're not drawn to look up walnuts, but sure enough, like when some situation like that comes, you look it up. And how many times I worked with client dogs and they have anxiety. Well, there's essential oils. If you looked it up and went clinical, there's essential oils that are for anxiety to help your nervous system. But realistically, they're in digestive distress and they need some ginger or something. And so it's that open-minded exploration and curiosity, Sue. That's the word that you came and said. And I remember so vividly in your course, Rachel, we had to do a presentation on a plant.
I
And
forgot about that.
my family's aromatic that just calms us, that actually our dog Django requested, is pink lotus. It is now part of my business. It is a main part of my logo, but I did my presentation on pink lotus and I'm like, where do I start? And I looked at that plant and I saw it, and I mean, I really felt it. And I want to say that presentation came from a place of feeling, and it was something that helped me realize again the potential of our senses and the depth of them. And so yeah, I mean, plants are, bah, I don't even have the words, but yeah, coming back to nature, realizing that we are.
We are nature. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember my first ever time of running a workshop, and I had such a mad passion for zoopharmacognosy. So I trained with Caroline Ingraham, and then I just went off and I thought, I need to get this out there. Like, why do people not know about it more? And I thought the best way to do this is workshops. And I come from a line of teachers, so it's kind of natural for me to, I guess it's in my blood or whatever. It's in my ancestry to share stuff. And I had this one dog come in. I don't know if I've told this story before, but this one dog come in and I was so excited to work with it. It was a rescue dog, and I absolutely love working with rescue dogs. And she didn't select anything at all. Absolutely nothing. But I was in performance mode because,
Expectations.
yeah, I had like 16 people watching me. And this is my first ever workshop. And I was just like, dog needs to select something. And then as soon as I like put my box away and stopped trying, the dog's like, oh, what have you got? And it was so brilliant because it just, they don't lie, do they, dogs? It just
No.
completely picked up on all of this. Like, why are you being weird? Like, why are you foisting on? And then it was then that I started to actually bring the people in and have them sit with the oils. And then actually by the time we got to the dogs was just so relaxed because the people had been inhaling hops or vetiver and they were all giggly or floaty. The dogs are like, well, I don't need anything now because
So that happened to me on several occasions, Rachel. Like you said, you go in there and the person wants you to work on the dog, and they've set it up and they're ready for the appointment and they're ready to watch this magic unfolding in front of them. And the dog sort of just walks off. Or I had one dog, just every time I offered him something, he would come to my arm and start humping me because I was on the floor.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And I'm like, oh, this is not working. This is not working. And then I just said, okay, let's just, let the dog, maybe the dog wants to go outside. Yes, the dog wants to go. Dog was happy as Larry playing in the garden. And I spent the rest of the session with the oils and the guardian. And she just melted into the oils. All of a sudden, her stress dropped. She started talking openly about the dog and, the stress that she was under because of his reactivity and blah, blah. the whole session was really just her, and the dog
Yeah.
was clearly saying, I'm out of this. I do not want part of this. But it was actually opening the space for the guardian to have the experience, right? And it was just, yeah, magical, magical. When we can see it for what it is, not, the dog refuses to take anything. It was opening up a space for the guardian who was, feeling at the beginning of the session, she was really tense and really anxious and pretty skeptical, in fact. And by the end of the session, she had really relaxed into it. And as I said, she had opened up. She'd shared things about her relationship with the dog and the anxiety she was feeling around the dog's behavior. And those were the oils she was selecting. Those were what she needed to be able to express and to be able to release that. That was the most important part. And thereafter, I mean, I went back for subsequent sessions and the dog actually engaged perfectly. So, there's the difference, that suddenly the next session, she was much more relaxed and the dog was coming in and selecting.
It's a beautiful story. I had a hysterical session with a client once. I don't know that I've gotten over the trauma yet.
I can't wait
But
to hear this one.
it's just like you don't know what you don't know, right? And so I'm very holistic minded. And she contacted me because her dog couldn't settle. She basically said he woke up in the morning and he ran around their house. And they just lived in this gigantic house and not too far away from us, but it was pretty much a mansion, and so this dog's just running around, running around. It got on my leg the minute that I walked in, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this dog's just scratchy, 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 scratchy. And when I did the animal communication with it, was talking about chemicals, and he was really irritated from all the yard chemicals and the yard sprays and the house cleaning chemicals, and he was like overloaded was the word that I got. So I wasn't sure, like, okay, that's a hard conversation to have in this world of convenience, right? When you're not talking to someone who's been exposed to it. Speaking of exposed, that's a funny choice of word. So when the session started, the woman was sitting across the room from me, probably 20 feet, and she's just nonstop talking, and the dog is just scratching at my leg. Scratch, 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 scratch. Like just, and it was a little poodly type of thing. And I'm like, I'm pulling out this soil and I'm pulling out this soil and I'm pulling out this soil and I'm pulling, and I'm like, God, what the hell? And I'm like trying to talk to this woman, and it was like I started like I just absorbed like all of the emotion in the room. And then I'm like, okay, and you start to realize what's happening. Okay, so you calm it down, and I'm talking to her about, you know, the chemicals in the yard. Can you use something more natural? Like, can we cut down on the chemicals? And we had this discussion about how the dog is 10 pounds and it's absorbing so much more. I mean, it was kind of it was a bit of a clinical discussion. Well, all of a sudden, like she moves from across the room to over a little closer to a little closer. Next thing I know, she's sitting beside me. The dog is laying on the ground sleeping. I don't, it doesn't even, the oil doesn't even matter which oil worked. Well, they all did in the end. And she started opening up to me about her life. And I found out she worked for one of the biggest drug companies in the country. And I'm like, okay, I'll see you later. Then it's been great. And even though like the way that I see the session, I'm sure when I walked out, she goes, wow, that lady was a loon. But for me, it's like you see the pattern of what's going on, but I'm just like, oh my God, I didn't know what to do. And you're there and I'm just sweating. And then you realize that all of those emotions were just like the dog and I and the person, we were all helping each other
Process the mill, yeah.
to process the emotions because I mean, I do. I tend to be someone who gets nervous when when I'm meeting with a client. It just happens, right? I mean, even before these podcasts, is it nerves or is it excitement? And I mean, that's all just a label. So
Mm.
you become a little more curious about it. But oh my God, as soon as she said who she worked for a drug company, I'm like, and I've been on about like the last hour about how drugs are bad. And I'm like, I'll just see myself out. She did not call back.
That's a
Uh,
brilliant
I got
story.
so many good teachings from them, don't we? So I'd love to bring in this word intelligence that we that
Mm.
came up earlier, and something I was chatting to just before we hopped on here was how we can shift our perspective um, around our dog's behavior or around the way we see an emotion. Because generally we want to label it. We want to label that as a reactive dog or oversensitive dog or very emotion or dog with big emotions, blah, blah, blah. All right. So we want to give it a label. And then depending on that label, we want to then, yeah, whether it be Zoopharma, whether it be dog training, whether it be whatever, we want to therapy that. We want to, we decide that there's something wrong that needs to change about that. Okay, even if we take away the fix it label, let's be honest. Let's say, okay, I don't want to fix my dog, but I'd like to support my dog in getting over this. What we're really saying is, I still want this gone.
Mhm.
I want whatever it is gone. Because we don't see that there is intelligence in it. So if we shift our perspective to say everything is intelligent, like you mentioned, Rachel, and like we were talking about the plants and those tiny little interactions, everything has a piece of intelligence. Each of the stories we've said or mentioned have come with something that happened that actually turned out to have a lot of intelligence behind it. And so I really do believe that every single thing has intelligence, living and non living. Events, experiences all have intelligence behind them. So if we were to turn that on its head, so if we saw a behavior or we saw our dogs do something or not do something, or we felt big emotions, what if we got curious and said, what is the intelligence
Mm.
behind this?
Mm.
And I'll put it to you, ladies. If I said that, what is the intelligence, for instance, behind a dog barking like crazy? What is the intelligence? If we presume that there is intelligence in that response, then we can possibly see it from a different perspective too.
When you're saying that, and I can feel it. So as much as I'm hearing your words, it's how I feel when I'm listening to the
Mhm.
words that are really resonating. And what's coming to me is space, and I don't mean outer space. I mean when you're listening to, like, I can't remember whose story it was now when you were I think it was you, Sue, talking about the lady sharing
Mm.
when she was sitting with the oils, and she was then starting to share, let's call that intelligence,
Mhm.
and you were just listening and you were holding space, or that you were creating space for that. That for me is almost I'm just, if I give another example, I know I haven't answered your question about reactivity specifically, but I'm going to answer it in a
Mm.
roundabout way. Ca- Bringing back in the zoo farmer, I remember working years ago with a lady and her dog, and the dog had lost all the fur down her lower back, and she tried the usual vet routes and tried different things, and nothing was coming. So she was bald basically on her lower back. And so we held a session with her, and she selected a couple of things internally, but nominal. I think it was maybe spirulina, a tiny amount, but the session really was just about being present with the dog. She inhaled frankincense and maybe one other, and that was it. There was nothing else, but it was 2 hours of pure presence and space. and there was me, her, and one other lady, and we were just supporting and that for me was like there was this intelligence in the space that we were listening to.
Mm.
We didn't really know what we were doing, if that makes sense.
Mm.
We just were honoring that, and it felt good, like the witch energy almost. It felt
Mm.
like we'd created this circle, including the dog, and the plants were in, and we were just, because we all just connected there was like a soul recognition between the three of us. We didn't really know each other that well, but there was almost this understanding that we didn't need to change anything.
Mm.
And it felt like, for me, it was, anyway, the fur grew back on this dog within weeks. And so what was that? Like, I don't know what it was. Was it the tiny amount of spirulina? Was it the space? But it was listening to that intelligence
Yes.
and the space that we created for that. And it really was I don't feel like I was downloading information that I could remember per se, but it felt like we were, I don't even want to use the word channeling because that comes with other implications, but we were tapping into the plant's intelligence, the animal's intelligence, nature's intelligence, our own intelligence. I don't know, but I love that word, Sue. I don't know, it's not like a new word, but I love the energy of what you're saying. It feels very it feels rooted in a truth for me
Mm.
personally, and it really resonates.
I
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say that I mean, I all of that, Rachel, all of it. And the word that came to me while you were talking was dismissive. And I think that we can have this expectation that this thing is wrong or this thing is happening, and we define it. And again, take it back to the labels, whatever. But I mean, the intelligence that exists, your walnut story, that's intelligence. And for us, we just need to know it's there. And once you understand what, Sue, you're talking about, we then no longer dismiss all of the infinite possibilities that can come about.
Mm.
And we start to realize maybe there's a message in the walnuts,
Mm.
and that the birds were the delivery method from the walnut tree to help your mom or you or both or everyone, and now potentially me or Sue or anyone who listens to this, right? That's the beauty of this ripple and this connection, is the awareness behind it, and that is nature's intelligence.
Mm.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
just freaking love that.
Mm. Yeah, so good. That's it, Rachel. It's opening up. It's, with the intelligence, it's saying I'm presuming there is intelligence in here. I don't have to go in and try and fix or change or do anything. If I'm
Mm.
just present, knowing that this exists, this intelligence exists, and I'm
Mm.
prepared to listen
Mm.
if something comes up. If it doesn't, like you said, that doesn't necessarily have to be, oh, there's my answer, there's the download, boom. It's just trusting that there is
Mm.
intelligence by giving it presence and not dismissing it, like you said, Kim.
Mm.
So,
But then it
yeah,
but then again, it's like, even if, like, somebody gets really chatty, right? Like, when I'm with, like, that lady and you're just mouth vomiting, I mean, that's intelligence coming out of
exactly.
me.
That, yes,
So it's
yes,
like we feel bad about it, like, "Oh, crap, I was just terrible on that. I just
yes.
said these stories and it didn't make any sense." Well, it actually makes all the sense.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? So you can look back and say, oh, so that then resulted in this happening, and resulted in that happening, resulted in that happening. Aha! And that's exactly how it was supposed to happen. You see the intelligence.
Mm.
Often in hindsight, we can see the
Mm.
intelligence of something. And again, like you said, we so easily just dismiss it or label it or say it was wrong or whatever.
Mm.
And so, okay, so for my example with let's say, why is my dog reactive? We can have a really practical, let's say, practical way to look at it and say, right, the dog is communicating something. That's its way of communicating, and there's intelligence in it. And the intelligence is it that the nervous system is just saying, I don't feel safe in this particular situation. That's all it's saying. I don't feel safe. And that's the dog's way of communicating exactly what it's currently feeling inside its body. What's the intelligence? Well, it's pretty obvious. If the dog is not feeling safe, by vocalizing, very often it creates distance between the other dog and the person, because the person wants to keep their dog further away from that. So in actual fact, its function was very intelligent, because that's what it did. Now, in behavior science, we can talk about that was the function of the behavior, but I want us to look at it as actual intelligence of a very sophisticated system. Because when we start to look at it from that point of view, again, it's nothing to be therapied, it's something to be understood, and then something to be saying, I get it. This dog is not feeling safe. Is there ways, how can we help the dog to feel safe, or whatever it is? It's a completely different perspective. It might have the same outcome, but it's a different perspective. And that's what I think the dogs want us to see, is this shift in perspective, moving away from the training, fixing, I've got a problem, versus there's intelligence in this relationship and our experiences together. And what is
And
that?
that completely changes your energy when you're with your dog. And it, like, bringing it back to the zoopharma, I remember really, really early days, because it became so normal for me to witness, animals self-medicating so clearly. But I loved the buzz of seeing someone observe their dog and observe the intelligence that they didn't know that they had, and how that shifted the relationship. And even with Darcy, with behaviors that I might find uncomfortable, because that's my stuff and it's what, whatever it's triggered in me. But when I start to shift from thinking, she's done something wrong, or I don't like it, or whatever, to really being curious about that deeper intelligence that she has access to, and that I maybe just haven't tapped into yet. She feels that shit. Like, she feels like, I know if someone would say, I'm ashamed of you, I would feel that. Like, if they say, I'm ashamed and you've let me down and you're rubbish, oh my God, you can feel that, can't you?
I can feel it in my stomach as you
I
say
can feel
that.
it now.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And we do that all the time to them, to us, to nature. It's painful, like, it feels, but again, it's not to just, like, brush over that and be like, oh well, I'll just fake my way out of it, if that's what we honestly feel. And if we're talking to our dogs like that, chances are we're talking to ourselves
Sounds
like
like
that.
that too. Yeah.
And I found that people that and I'm not a canine nutritionist, but I've done a lot of, having had dogs for however many years, you learn about nutrition. Yeah, you just do. And I'd find that people that fed their dogs not great food generally were maybe not feeding themselves so well either, or that they talked shit to themselves, or that, and they were the ones that would actually really struggle outside of financial reasons. They would struggle to make changes because it didn't resonate for them either. It was like there was something deeper going on. So I've gone off piste a bit, but I feel, that it's that when we recognize that intelligence in them, that, and I feel like we literally are scratching the surface with our, because we're such babies on the planet, aren't we? Human beings, we're babies. So I feel, and I know that's changed behaviors in my dogs immediately, instantly at times, when I've gone from thinking they're messing up to, oh my God, I really get it.
Yeah. So here's another example that's come up for me a couple of times, is dogs with itchy skin. I mean, it's common, right? How many dogs? My dog's got allergies, right? My dog's got itchy skin, and it could be anything from environmental allergies to food sensitivities to blah, 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 blah. And so we go often, again, to Zoopharma. Let's help the dog. Perhaps we can help the system to to restore itself, for instance. But again, why is the system, is it malfunctioning, or is there intelligence behind that? So I did a little exercise with myself and I said, okay, what's the metaphor? Because sometimes it often speaks in metaphors, we know, right? What is the metaphor in an itchy dog? It's a skin thing, it's itchy and it's uncomfortable. And so if we look at, for instance, the skin is a barrier. The skin is a barrier between me and the outside world. And if I'm feeling itchy all the time, is it possible that there is a boundary issue with the person or the dog? Like, are they setting boundaries, or are they struggling to keep stuff outside coming in or inside coming, or they're struggling to share or whatever? And when you start to ask them different questions, as I say, if you can see it from a metaphor, what is the intelligence? You may be able to look at an energetic pattern that may be occurring that is showing up as a physical symptom. And I know this is, again, a huge, deep topic, but it gives us another avenue, gives us something else that we don't know, versus going in there saying, my dog has an allergy and therefore the dog's system is malfunctioning. Is there deeper intelligence that's on a energetic level, that the symptom, or inverted commas, the symptom is showing us something about, like in a metaphor.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. And speaking of that, I got to go back because when you were talking about barking before, burdock root came to mind, and I'm like, you said the dog's trying to like acquire space, and it just needs more space. And I'm thinking about burdock root because if you understand how burdock root grows, it nothing grows near it. And so it takes things from like it like just uses so much nutrition in its little stick way of growing. It's beautiful, but it's a powerful plant. And so it's like a reactive dog in a way.
How
And
fascinating.
I think walnut trees are like that too, aren't they? Like at least like black walnut, I think for sure is like a tree that like when we were planting our food forest, we were told like if you plant a walnut tree, don't plant anything within like 30 feet of it. So 10 meters, it's like it has to have
Fascinating.
space. So yeah, I mean, there's even reactive plants if you're going to label it. I mean, at the end of the day, but
Again,
there's an innate intelligence.
yes,
We don't look at
yes.
burdock root and go, darn, that burdock root is reactive. Let's train it.
Let's desensitize it by planting other plants really close.
Yeah. No, we just, it's like all of those things. I mean, the walnut story came out today and the burdock root came up and the intelligence thing came up because it's all connected. And that's the intelligence. It's fun actually when you.
It is. It's like such a, people can say, oh, it's all, woo woo, and you're just making it all up. But I'm sorry, but over the years, and in fact, I did used to think that. I used to think, oh, well, you could say anything and it could be true. But this is the trust. This is trusting in our own intelligence and our own intuition. And the more I started trusting in that, the more I did see, like you say, following the breadcrumbs and saying, oh, this led to that and that led to that. And there was no coincidence that this happened exactly in this moment, in this time, or suddenly, like you said, you haven't heard of something and then 2 days later you hear 3 times or something. It's too obvious to dismiss if you notice enough, if you're aware enough to notice it.
I'm still spinning from the plants need space. Because even the subtext of my dog needs space is a negative. Is seen as a negative. It's like they're a social outcast.
Yes,
It's
I don't
like,
yes, exactly.
right? It's like seen to be a coping strategy as opposed to I know, they just need space, which
Yeah.
is me socially. I said the other day we had our neighbors, and I love being around people, but in certain contexts and
Yes.
certain people, and it's changes or depending on what, why, how, and everything. And funny because we were talking about, because it's Christmas in a couple of days, and we were talking about what we're each doing, and we're chatting to our neighbors outside on our front drive, and I can't remember why I said it, but it came from the depths, and I said, "Oh, we actively discourage visitors." And my partner went, "Oh, she's joking," and I'm like,
no.
"No, I'm actually not." Like, I love seeing people outside of my home, but not in my home, because I don't know, I feel like a badger.
Like a badger.
I'll be right over.
Badgers feel like, Rachel?
Yeah, I don't know, like me. Whereas my parents are they love having people over there. They're like the people that cook food, and they're like the social.
Yes.
Whereas I'm like that. I don't like cooking for other people. I don't like clearing up. I don't like having to dress in a set. I just, but then I can love social situations in other ways. So, and same with our dogs, right? But I love that plants need a reactive. I like that, literally. That's the quote of the century
My
for me.
plants
That
need
is.
space.
So
Yeah.
fascinating. But then that makes me think about the oils that we love. Like what oils are we drawn to? Do they have similar characters as we do? I don't know. But beyond whether it's a coincidence or not a coincidence, I wouldn't want to live life any other way of
Mm.
accepting facts. Well, that'd be bollocks. That's so, just so boring. I'd rather push the boundaries and question. That's how we evolve as a species, man. That's
Exactly.
what's fun, and that's when you get the weird looks and people going, "You're crazy." I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's fun.
because it's just more interesting.
Yeah, it is.
And there's nothing wrong with the people that do accept facts and love
Yes.
all of that. That's
Yes.
their role, and that we all play our roles perfectly. But yeah, that's why we're unruly.
Mm. So what else
So
have you
what
got?
oils do you have?
Good
Ah,
question.
What was the question you said at the same time?
What oils have
What
you
oils
got?
do you have?
Oh, I have grapefruit.
Mm.
Ooh.
Oh, I can taste it, and I do
Mm.
love a grapefruit. I love a pink
So
grapefruit,
do I.
but I've never seen one grow on a tree.
Oh.
No, I can't see.
I know.
I've seen oranges and lemons, but not grapefruits. You're right.
No, do you think they must have strong? Have you seen them, Kim? Do they grow do you get hot weather? I imagine them living
They
somewhere
don't
hot.
grow here.
No.
So I did an oil
Damn.
grab. I did an oil grab today. I just
Same.
grabbed and I just pulled it out, and it's not one that I would have chosen. So how interesting is that? But I'm presuming there is intelligence in this.
There is intelligence in it.
It's Melaleuca tea tree.
Oh,
Ooh,
interesting.
lovely. That is interesting.
It is interesting because I do
Well, you have guests.
yeah. Disinfecting everything. No, but interesting. Yes, I mean, this whole weekend, my husband and I were actually quite proud of ourselves. We did a lot of cleaning out, clearing out, decluttering,
Oh, beautiful.
cleaning, and so this would be a perfect oil to go with that,
Yeah.
isn't it?
I
Yeah,
love it.
coolering and cleaning.
I swam in a tea tree lake in
Oh,
Australia.
wow.
Oh my
Wow.
God. So stripped naked with my bestie, Jodie, and her two girls. And we just, it was amazing.
Wow.
Amazing. Really beautiful.
Oh, that's great.
Sorry for the visual, but you've got, you have to go in naked into a tea tree lake. Them's the rules.
Wow.
What
That
about you,
sounds
Kim?
amazing. I have
Yeah.
lodgepole pine.
Oh, yes.
Mm.
So
Mm.
and they
Not
actually also I mean, they grow in the forest, but they're like, their trunks are really tall. I don't know if you've ever seen one. So we
no.
like my favorite place in the whole country to date is Oregon
Mm.
and the mountains of Oregon, and lodgepole pine grow everywhere, and so their trunks are really tall, and there's really only, like, needles at the top.
Mm.
Once it
Mm.
gets
Mm.
to be, like, a certain height, so they grow really tall. I remember my brother brought home a pine cone and tried to grow a lodgepole in his backyard.
Oh, that's cute.
Let's just say the experiment didn't go as planned, but I commend him for the effort. But it's just this beautiful I mean, it's perfect for the season because I did an oil grab also,
Same.
and, yeah, it's perfect for the season
It
of
is.
solstice
Yeah.
and,
Mm.
just
And
like you kind of feel like the strength of it, right? Like you're just reaching up for
mm.
the sky, but you're so grounded in right now, and
Do you know
there's
Mm.
what pops
intelligence
into me?
in
The memory of that. We stayed in a campsite. It was about 2 summers ago in Slovenia, and it was next to a beautiful little stream, but it was also had the whole campsite, had a whole area where it was those pines. What do you call it? Eh? I think we call it
lodgepole lodgepole.
okay,
It's,
not a
Pinus contorta.
okay. I can't remember. I don't think we've got well, but the way you described it was very similar. So it's this
Mm,
tall thing, and it's only got the pine needles at the top. But what stood out to me was when I used to walk my dogs in the morning through the campsite, and you hear the sound of the
mhm.
wind through a pine tree. It's got something complete. It's a completely different sound that I've ever heard of. It's just like this beautiful wispy whistling. It's
It's
Mm.
gorgeous. It's
it's
really, really.
talking.
Yes, it
Mm,
felt like
Yeah.
that's what it feels
mm.
like.
It is, it's the best thing. We love to sit out on the deck and just listen to the wind through the pines.
Mm.
It's different.
It is different to any
It
other
is,
sort of foresty
oh,
trees. It's just got a something special about it. Yeah.
I could go back to Oregon right now in my head
Mm.
Mm.
and just hear it and
Yeah.
smell it and, a
Delicious.
little bit of nature inside.
Yeah.
Mm.
What have you got, Rachel?
Mine is the
Oh,
grapefruit,
yes, that's right. You said you got
and that
grapefruit.
mine was also a random hoik out of the box, and I wasn't expecting that at all. But interesting, they're all
Mm,
quite clearing, aren't they?
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
Oh, I'm gonna sit with this one all day. I just, oh,
I
I
know. This is our favorite bit, isn't it?
Snorting is
Smelling
essential oil.
stuff.
I got all the way up here today into my office, and I'm just, like, looking around and setting everything up, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I didn't get an oil." Whoa.
Yes. How dare
Ah,
you? Okay, ladies, I feel like we've come to a beautiful natural conclusion. I've really enjoyed the
Yeah,
episode. I know we've got so many more stories on zoopharmacognosy that will probably come out in different episodes,
yeah.
but
Oh, this
yeah,
was great. This
they're
was a lot
great
of fun.
memories. They're
There's
great
an
so good.
memories.
intelligence in this.
There is an intelligence.
There is. Thank you, ladies. It's been awesome as
Thank you.
Yeah.
usual.
Thank you both. Always a
See you
pleasure.
later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.